Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Kennebunkport Select Board. Today is I'm going to find the date here, the 9th of October. It is 5 p.m. as we are going to be entering into executive session per MRSA 1, Section 405-6E to consult with the town attorney regarding pending litigation. Do I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, any discussion? All in favor? We are in executive session.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will continue with the Select Board meeting. The Select Board has come out of an executive session per MRSA 1, Section 405-6E. There was a consultation with the town attorney regarding pending litigation. There were no decisions made during this meeting. All righty, I would ask if you would please rise with me for our pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first point of business is to approve the September 25th, 2025 Select Board minutes.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor?
I'm going to abstain.
Fair
I have it written.
Fair enough. So 401. Next order of business is the public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with any issue that is not currently on the agenda. I have one in the back. Nina?
Hi, I'm Nina Perlmutter. I reside at 13 Lock Street. I'm also a member of the Shade Tree Committee. I just want to make you aware of something that you might not be aware of. There was a New York Times article, a very long one, on September 11th, dealing with the fact that of what they're calling now arboricide, which is the poisoning of trees. You may know of the issue that was in Camden, where a woman put poison trees on her neighbors so she'd get a better view after she killed the trees. That particular pesticide was a banned pesticide, and it has not stopped traveling. It's gone through public lands now, and it's in their harbor. And after $1.7 million settlement, I believe litigation is still going on. The article specifically went into details about another one in Rockport, another issue of arboricide, where a New York couple wanted a better view, tried to buy the land from a 93-year-old woman who had lived there, and when she didn't sell, they killed the trees as well with pesticides. This is happening all over the world. What really struck me was that the comments afterwards came in from countries everywhere, Australia and Europe, all over. There were something like almost 1,000 comments, and they were all talking about people who are killing trees for better views. I can tell you of one instance I read several years ago in England where they protect their trees very vehemently, and a man took down a protected tree for a better view. It improved the selling price of his house $65,000, and so the town decided to basically fine him $65,000. To me, that was the way to go, but here we don't do that sort of thing. However, the issue is that in Rockport, some of the citizens started to get together and say, let's start working on this because the fines are high enough. I'm bringing this to your attention because I know 2 members of this planning board have some issues with a document that we've been basically shoring up for the Shade Tree Committee. And because we've tried to put through an ordinance, which you took very strong issue with, miscalculated the diameters of the trees that we were talking about, and don't seem to want to penalize people. Yet we've had people come in, contractors, and just rip out trees in shoreland zones, hardly penalized for it. We've recently had in flooding areas of my neighborhood, Lock, Oak, and West Streets, man coming in his lot, and he had the right to do it, but clearing very large trees that were very close and helped protect the flooding in the area. And they were very close to the ditches and the swales where the flooding occurs. And nothing is being done about this. You're going through climate change. Nobody can really dispute that. The facts are there. You're going to get more flooding, and these trees are needed to protect. We are not putting forth any sort of town ordinances that protect those trees to the extent that they need to be protected. But I do want to bring to your attention that this group from Rockport did take action. They went to the legislature and they put forth a bill, HP 1130 LD 1697, which was passed after amended by both the House and the Senate and approved by the governor and is now enacted into law. I believe this is now 7 main statutes, basically section 616-A. And it specifically says it excludes those who are licensed pesticide applicators. This is aimed toward people who poison trees, especially when they poison them on other people's lands. Okay? The new fines tiered depending on the severity of the violation is up to $10,000 standard maximum civil fine for violations of pesticide rules, up to $50,000 maximum civil fine for unauthorized application when the Maine Board of Pesticides Control determines that the violator benefited substantially from the violation, up to $75,000 for a second offense within a 4-year period, and up to $150,000 for a third offense within a 4-year period in which the person benefited substantially from the violation. These fines, to me, aren't even enough for people who come in and buy million-dollar houses. They're not high enough to really prevent them from doing those things, but there are other civil actions that can be taken by landowners as well. So basically, I guess I'll just read from it. A fine of not more than $50,000 may be adjudged for an unauthorized pesticide application in a case where the preponderance of the evidence demonstrates that the person who violated this paragraph benefited substantially from the violation as determined by the board by routine technical rule as described in Title V, Chapter 375, Subchapter 2A. Clear and convincing evidence that only one person benefited substantially from an unauthorized pesticide application constitutes prima facie evidence that the person is responsible for unauthorized pesticide application. That's very strong language, and it may get tested in court. But this is what is needed to protect trees sometimes. And I just want to make you aware that this is now law for Maine. And it can be applied here in Kennebunkport, of course. And on top of that, towns can also look at contractors and people who are building new houses that take down tag trees, town tag trees, and clear shoreland trees as well to the detriment of the whole neighborhood. Okay? My own personal opinion of this is that if somebody is building and they take out those trees, you basically suspend their permit for a year because that is what will affect them the most. And that's what I would propose. But I have a feeling that given Kennebunkport's history of not even fining people for taking out trees, that this probably won't happen. However, you are responsible. You know, we have a land use ordinance that protects buildings, setbacks, impervious surface coverage. You know, you can't just pave your whole lot. And it's time that we started thinking about the trees that really protect this town, or you're going to start looking like a New Jersey suburb here. Okay?
Thank you.
So that's my 2 cents, because I know that you're going to meet with the Shade Tree Committee about language in our
Thank you,
document.
thank you, appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Grab the door.
Do we have any other comments from the folks here? David, do we have anybody online?
We have 8 attendees, but no hands raised so far.
Then, before we enter into our normal business, I would like to share a sad note with you. As many of you are aware, Allison Kenneway passed away last week on Wednesday, October 1st, at her home in Kennebunkport. In 2015, Allison joined the town of Kennebunkport staff as the town nurse and later became the director of our public health. Allison was passionate about helping people and giving back to the community. She was vibrant, creative, caring, and truly had a zest for life. Her loss will be felt by many of us. Please join me, if you would, in a moment of silence in Allison's memory. Thank you. There will be a celebration of life on Sunday, October 12th, 2025, starting at 1 p.m. and a memorial starting at 2, held at the Kennebunkport Conservation Trust. All righty. Now we have 2 public hearings that we'll be holding. The first is to adopt the MMA model ordinance for the general assistance, and there are just several appendices on this. This one does not need the group, right? So it's the second one. We'll
Yes, that's
do
right.
that. Perfect. So let me take a minute and just a minute to read this. Well, let me first open the public hearing. So we will, do we need a vote? You have to remind you, we need a vote to open the public hearing. So I can declare now, please, the public meeting open. This is on each year, the state of Maine amends the general assistance maximums for food, shelter, utilities, and other such things. By updating the general assistance ordinance, we maintain compliance, we as the town maintain compliance with the state. Updates have been made to Appendix A, the overall maximums, Appendix B, food maximums, and Appendix C, the housing maximums of the general assistance ordinance. The changes to the general assistance maximums are as follows. The overall maximum for an individual or family in Appendix A increased by $86 for individuals and $292 for a family of 5. Appendix B and C have to do with housing and food. There, the maximum allowances have also increased. The monthly food maximum for an individual increased by $6. A family of 8 increased by $33. For Appendix D and F, which are the basic needs, there has been no change for this year. Basic needs cover utilities, electricity, food, fuel, and personal care items. Likewise, for Appendix H, which is the burial and cremation maximums, there was no increase for this year. I would open the floor if there were any comments that anyone would wish to make. Anyone online?
No hands raised.
Then I would ask, please, that the Board of Selectmen make a motion to adopt as stated.
So moved.
Second.
For first and second, any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We'll close this public meeting only to open a second. So the second public meeting has to do with the amendments or with the ordinance changes and the town hall vote that'll be on this year's ballot. I understand that we have the committee with us at the growth planning, yes? And if, could ask, no, which?
Growth planning and planning board.
And planning board. So if I could ask each of you, please, because we do need to have the, you also open your meeting with your folks as part of this public gathering. So who would be the growth plan?
Growth planning, Dan Saunders, Chair. I'll open the meeting for growth planning, and I have 4 members in addition to myself. Tom, Liz, and Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Yep.
And for planning?
Town hall?
No,
No,
planning
planning
board.
board.
Planning board?
One member.
Ah,
Are there any online?
Are there any online?
I don't see any, obviously. I have an LM, a Peter, and a TG.
So we don't have a quorum, so the planning board will have to have a different public hearing.
all right, so we will have a different public hearing for that. All righty, we have discussed these ordinances in the past, I think quite a bit in the past, but Galen is with us. If there are any questions or concerns, or could give us a brief overview, thank you.
Good evening, Board. Are we going to go down through the list? Is that? what you prefer?
Just briefly.
Okay.
Maybe if there was comments from the group for each, then we could stop between them, yeah.
Yep, I think we've covered at each one of your select board meetings the details about the short-term rental ordinance, the floodplain ordinance, and the land use ordinance. So in general, the short-term rental ordinance is being updated to address some litigation concerns that we've had in the past, as well as some administrative overviews that we needed to address as a town. So those items are highlighted for you. The floodplain management ordinance has been updated as a technical amendment, and that's on pages 77, 78, and 80 of the packet. You'll notice that there's just technical language that was not updated with the floodplain management ordinance amendment in June. And then for the land use ordinance, there was an update that deals with shoreland zoning and a lot of other concerns about I'm trying to pull up here. Sorry. With utility line placement, that was something that was added into the provisions there. And then we, again, streamlined with LD 2003. There was provisions that were missing that we wanted to update in our land use ordinance. So with that being said, I'll open it up to any questions that you might have, and I can answer anything for the public.
Any questions from the floor? Any questions on?
Bill Starr has his hand raised. Bill, you can speak once you unmute yourself. There we
I
go.
hope I did it. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Bill. Please state your name and address, please.
Certainly. Bill Starr, 968 Kings Highway. Good evening, everybody. Just 2 questions on the short-term ordinance. The first one is the definition that's in paragraph 129.3 for lodging establishment. Is that verbatim as to what chapter 240 says?
This is the lodging establishment redefinition.
Yes.
Galen is checking just to have a response
Yep.
for you.
Yep. Thank you.
Bear with me, I have to pull up the ordinance.
Sure.
You know, it probably would help the voters. How many
Page
would know
41
what
of the
240
packet.
is when they come in? It was page 37, 38, somewhere around there, Galen.
Right. So my understanding from the town solicitors, we added this definition as a way to catch all the changes that occur in the hospitality industry. And so that is why this definition has been added into the land use ordinance. It's supposed to be in case the hospitality industry, which it has changed over the years, to allow these types of guest suites that occur. It now is a catch-all that we are able to take care of any hospitality uses that do enter into our land use ordinance in the future that we might not have already covered. So instead of just updating our short-term rental ordinance license, we would just be updating our land use ordinances as those changes occur and new uses are being proposed.
Right. But my first question was just, is the language verbatim as to what's in 240?
I don't believe that definition is in there.
Yeah, I don't think that,
That's why we're adding it into because again, it's gonna be new uses that we haven't even thought of that might be added into the land use ordinance in the future.
But the reference is to 240. So I don't have it up in front of me, but,
Yep, I can read that definition.
Yeah, the last.
I mean, if it's referring to 240, I would think that that's verbatim what's in there.
I think it's referring to the planning board process under
Correct.
240.
So it's a lodging business that offers rooms or suites for less than 30 days of occupancy that may have independent sanitary and cooking amenities in a room or rooms for use by guests. Examples include but not limited to hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, and inns as defined in, and the use has been approved or is subject to approval by the town's planning board under chapter 240. So it's again being an encompassing definition.
it's just referencing 240 to get the definitions of those other items, other entities.
Because again, the intent behind this is, the spirit of it is, the business is gonna be going through planning board site plan approval process, which is a very public and open process. And so they are exempt from getting a short-term rental license, because those are again for residential properties, and this is a commercial hospitality establishment that has gone through a separate public review process.
Yeah, I don't have a vote, obviously, but it's just a little confusing to me that there's reference to chapter 240, but let's move on. I guess the most important question to me is the language, the paragraph that's been added. So my question there is, does this language either include or exclude any dwelling unit from what was in the original ordinance? Does this pick up something that wasn't there before, or remove something?
So, if I understand your question, is this change going to impact any residential dwellings? The answer to that is no. However, if someone has a lot that has multiple dwellings on them and they decide that they
Yeah.
want to make that into a hotel or something of that nature and do not want to go get a license, they would have to go through the site plan approval process through the planning board.
Yeah, that really wasn't what I was wondering. I don't know, it's confusing to me, and I think the most important thing, are we somehow adding something that wasn't there in the original ordinance?
I think what I heard Bill ask, and I don't know if I'm capturing it, but it's almost like, are we excluding or including more content of things in our community that can be licensed? Or are we excluding some because of this language that can be licensed? Short-term
Thank
rental
you.
license.
Right.
Thank you.
Again, I think the issue was surrounding residential condoed situations. And so that is part of the situation we're trying to address with this ordinance
Right.
language.
That's the-
Where hospitality industries can try to find a way around our site plan approval process and instead go through the condo route. That's what we were trying to prevent in having this language here.
But does it have an unintended consequence? And we don't believe it does.
We don't believe it does. Their
so I
town
think
attorney says
that's-
because we are including that definition of hotel, motel, and bed and breakfast, we are explaining that those uses are clearly excluded from the short-term rental licensing, which is what it was in the intent of the ordinance in the beginning.
Right.
We're just offering clarifying language that they are excluded from the process. They have a separate process they have to go through.
This gets it back to the original intent, which was more residential.
Correct.
For short-term
Oh.
rental licenses. So
Right.
this is
Okay.
just lessons learned, clarifying language, get it back to the residential.
Yep.
And
That's the
to
intent.
Bill's point, we don't think it has any unintended consequences of excluding or including. and
Not to
that's-
residentials.
Not to
No.
residentials, thank you, exactly. Okay, Bill?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Shellfish. There is also an update to the shellfish ordinance. Mainly, it was just placing responsibilities where they actually exist, as opposed to what it had said. It also does remove the seating, it was a seating benefit?
Seating requirement for commercial
There we
licenses.
go, there we go. Is there any thoughts or comments on shellfish from the Zoom world?
No other hands raised.
And last, we have the town hall ballot question.
John, could you talk about floodplain?
I believe
Yes.
floodplain was addressed, yes.
Alan Evelyn, the chair of the Town Hall Committee. And I just want to apologize to folks. I had a flu shot this morning, and they held me down in York. The doctor and her 2 assistants held me while they administered this shot that I didn't want. At any rate, my day has depleted, and so I'm not at full capacity tonight, but I'm going to give it a try. So the Town Hall Committee was reconstituted in January 2024. There are 9 citizens on the committee, 2 select board members, 3 Town of Kennebunkport staff, and our expert consultants, Owens McCullough of Sebago Techniques, Michael Hayes of Grant Hayes Associates, as well as several other well-respected experts who helped us get to this point in the development of the new municipal offices. So the committee was charged with the following: recommending a new site for a new municipal building, then refining the building and design, presenting the findings to the Select Board, including a fully developed cost estimate and a detailed analysis of energy-saving options. I believe we have completed those and moving forward with the charges complete. We performed a site analysis very early in the development of the new municipal office plan. And then a few months later, we did a deeper dive into it, and this is what resulted, this evaluation. We came up with 2 of the sites which would possibly be acceptable, and then we shifted to focusing on 32 North Street. And simply, we were following the needs and the requests. Lower cost of site development at 32 North Street versus the village parcel at 51 North. That was deemed to be around between $600,000 and $800,000 more to develop a greenfield site. There is less environmental impact on developing the site at or putting the offices at 32 North Street, and it's also a better location for renewable energy, a lot more capability for solar. So, cost estimate for the project, the base building, $8,275,000, but there were also other options, which we'll get into in the next page. There are funding sources to the tune of $500,000 for an existing unrestricted donation, $1.275 million from the capital reserve, the expected sale of 6 Elm Street at $750,000. So the bond amount based on this would be $5,750,000. That ends up with the total funding of $8.275 million. So the options, option one on the warrant is our solar panels and a geothermal energy system. The second option are the installation of bird-safe windows. The total project cost then goes to $9,150,000. This does not include energy tax credits, which we could be, or likely be qualified for with our geothermal system that we would be adding if approved. And so you see the total funding sources on the right, including the bond amount. If it's if it includes the option 1 and 2, the bond amount would be $6.625 million. Again, not including the geothermal tax credits. Debt and tax impact. For the ease of calculation, we calculated 2 bond packages, one at $5.5 million, the other at $6.5. The annual payment on the $5.5 million is around $430,000. The annual tax payment on a $500,000 valued home would be $60. And correspondingly, at $6.5 million, the annual payment would be $500,000. The annual tax payment would be $70 on a $500,000 home. If the project is approved in November, construction will begin in late summer 2026, could be completed by the end of calendar 2027. That means we would bond in early 2028, and the first payment would be due in fiscal year 2029. A good part of the development time, or the development that was worked on by the committee, was to achieve the lowest cost for heating and cooling a new municipal office. And basically the steps which our consultants have walked through with us. First of all, the building envelope is extremely important. Design the building for the least loss of heating or cooling. Then selecting equipment that has the lowest operating cost. Derive as much energy as possible from our own natural resource solar panels, and then further reduce energy demand by approximately 30% by adding the geothermal source for the HVAC system. So I don't know how many people have taken advantage of the development. PCM company did a study and met with us, met with our designers. There's an exhaustive document with every nail, every yard of materials used for insulation. Everything is in here. It's very detailed. We know what the costs are. And we have actually forward priced all of these items given the estimated inflation that will occur by the time the building is started. One of the questions that we had as we began to look at renewable energy sources was, how does geothermal energy work, and how can it work in conjunction with our solar panels? So geothermal system integrates with the heat exchanger by providing thermal energy from the ground, which is stable 50 to 60 degrees year-round. This means that there's a 30% less work than with an air exchange, particularly when outside temperatures plummet. And this little diagram, I think, shows a an air source system, and a geothermal system down in the ground. Also important was to calculate what the renewable energy payback was. And so at a 4% annual inflation rate for electricity, the installation of solar panels on the new building roof and on a canopy over a portion of the employee parking area will provide a full payback between 14 and 15 years. That's at a 4% inflation rate for electricity, which I think everything we read says that's gone out the window. At any rate, installing the geothermal system in addition to the solar panels will yield a similar payback, as well as a cumulative savings of over $1 million over the first 20 years. At a 10% annual inflation rate, and again, we're reading expert commentary on this every day for electricity, the payback for both solar and solar plus geothermal drops to between 11 and 12 years. And the savings would be over $1.3 million in the first 20 years, and with the addition of geothermal, that would increase to almost $2 million. So the operating costs have been looked at thoroughly, and we believe this is the two options, or the first option, adding geothermal and solar, is a very, very worthwhile plan for Kennebunkport. So what's the committee done? We've been sitting on our hands here for 18, 20, 21 months. We've had 17 meetings since January 2024. We've done 5 presentations to the Select Board. This is the 6th, and 2 community presentations. And we also produced 2 videos in-house with committee members and expert panel members who have been involved with the project since the beginning. We did have a community meeting in August, presentation of the committee's work to date, recommendations. We showed the 2 videos. There were 60 participants, people who came in person and people who were watching via Zoom. We had a total of 9 comments, and all who voiced an opinion all said whether their opinion was for what we were doing or against what we were doing. They all said, we do need a new town hall. And these lists here are the specific comments and concerns that were expressed. So the committee recommended that the town hall build, that the town build a new town hall and public meeting space at 32 North Street, that the town place on the November 2025 ballot questions to, number 1, authorize the Select Board to design, construct, and equip the new town hall and public meeting space, appropriate certain donations and capital reserve funds for the project, negotiate and enter into an agreement to sell the current town office property at 6 Elm Street and use the proceeds thereof towards the project. Issue general obligation bonds in support of the project. Number 2, authorize the Select Board to issue general obligation bonds to finance solar and geothermal systems for the project. And finally, to authorize the Select Board to issue general obligation bonds to finance the project. Finance the bird-safe windows for the project. I guess any of the committee members could take questions. If you have questions, we have 7 committee members, total of 9 committee members here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Again, a very good demonstration of what you guys all know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So I would like to open the floor for any comments from the folks here and the folks online. Yes.
Robin Phillips, Kennebunkport. Can you hear me? You know, I appreciate all your work because it's a lot, but I appreciate the work of the committee, but it's too much money. And, you know, when you read the survey, which I did till midnight last night, the number one thing is cost. I mean, this green line is what people voted against. You know, there was too much money then, and it's really not less money now. And there was no break taken after the no. It caused a great divide in our town. So I don't think that's a good thing for Kennebunkport. We're a nice town. We have a lot of different groups, but there's a lot of people that have no money here. So we just got a big tax increase, and your job as the select board is to oversee the poor and do the right thing for the people. And I don't think this is it. You know, you moved it off the village parcel. I think that was a wise move. But the price tag really didn't go down. And nobody I've talked to thinks this is a good idea. So I'm wondering why we're, you know, not shaving off more money. The second highest in the comments was, why aren't we refurbishing what we have? That is the main way, to use what you have and not overextend yourself. And in bonds, I consider us over our skis. We have a lot. How much is left on the village parcel, principal?
I don't have the number right off the top of my head, but my guess is around 7 million.
So we paid 10 million in 2017, and we still owe 7 million. And now we're asking for another bond of nearly 6 million. And our taxes just went up considerably, and they will go up again. And I just feel like you guys have the power. You represent the people, and you should tell them to slow the roll.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm not quite done. So, did you send a public hearing notice for tonight? I never got one. I didn't know this was a public hearing. I was just coming because I knew.
Yeah, so the way the public hearing is publicized is through the newspaper.
Okay, so your automatic updates for everything, you don't do that?
So if you,
I get all the
if you
updates.
subscribe to the agenda, then you certainly would get that as well.
So again, these are the tactics that caused the trouble last time, and it was brutal. And now people are afraid to participate large. I'm not, but a lot of people are like, I'm not touching that, I'm just gonna vote no. I don't think that's a good way to run a town. So they did a lot of work. I appreciate that, and I like the site a lot better, but it's too much money for what we're paying for now and the uncertainty of our world and the division that it caused amongst people that liked each other. Don't anymore. Over that town hall that flunked. And when does no mean no? If we vote no this time, is it over?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see what happens at the end. That's
So
that's
you
for
think,
later.
is there any money of the $400,000 for planning left?
There is over, I guess it's $115,000 of it remaining, yes.
Okay, so we've spent $275,000 on planning.
More than planning, on quite a thorough design of this
Oh,
new
I
building.
understand. What it was in the town meeting that I attended with 40 people in 2022. It just came off like nothing. Approved $400,000 for town hall planning, which I'd never heard of. I voted no, so it was like 38-2. So 38 people approved $400,000 to plan a new town hall.
Pretty good ratio for the town, I think. 2 to 38, but go ahead.
40 people came to the meeting. Don't you think it should have been on the ballot? Like, should we have a new town hall?
I appreciate your comments, Robin, go ahead. I'm not here to discuss, if you're here, if you've got, you've got comments.
You have power to delay it.
We certainly do.
Mhm.
And this is a time for public comments, and I appreciate hearing your comments. It's not a time for debate. Go ahead.
I have questions, that's not debate. Asking for financial information is not a debate.
I've given you the financial information.
Yes, you have, but I'm just saying, it's on you to not create another huge fissure in our town. It's up to you.
I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other comments? Yes.
Kai Leffler, Proctor Avenue. Of course, he's already given, Alan gave a lot of information I was going to repeat. But I wanted to, again, thank them, the committee and staff, for all the hours you've given to come up with a good location, a practical floor plan that's affordable for our town, for you really, really need a new town hall. And, while I appreciate her comments about worried about taxes going up, that $60 a year, that's $5 a month, I think. My math is right. And, excuse me. At any rate, we can afford that. And we have tax relief help for people that are really in need. I wanted to point out the possibilities of the solar panels. In 2021, we put solar panels on our home to power a generator in case of power outages. In 8 months, by June of 22, our excess exceeded our use. We have not paid for electricity for 3+ years, and we never will. CMP doesn't pay us for that, but they keep track. I have a 3,000 kilowatt hour credit, and of course, every time the sun shines, it goes up. At any rate, coming up for our old building that is the best we can do for the moment is going to be $8,615 for electricity for the coming year for 2026. That, along with the geothermal, I really think we will see really good tax benefits coming in the future from the solar panels and for a new building that has been so well thought out. Thank you so much. I'm going to vote yes, and I hope everybody else will too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kai. Other comments? Please.
As a committee member, I just feel like I need to say a few words. And if I go over my limit, I'm speaking with a lot of us here, so give me a little bit of leeway. I feel like the town hall is the heart of a town. Everything that happens in town happens at town hall. Even the policemen get paid through the town hall. The fellows who plow our roads get paid through the town hall. The people at the town hall pay for the trucks that plow our roads. All elections are run through the town hall, and it takes months before the actual election day in preparation for that. All money in town is collected and processed through the town hall. All bills are paid, all the lights are kept on in all the town buildings because people at the town hall pay the bills. I mean, everything happens. All permits are issued through the town hall, building permits, short-term rental permits, beach passes, everything, you name it, and it runs through the town hall. Even the other departments that aren't physically in the town hall depend on the town hall for support. So it's just such an important building. And there's no way we can live in that building, which is the oldest building in town.
Public building in town.
Oldest public building in town, right, the oldest town building. We just can't function out of there for the next 25 years. It's only going to cost more and more and more to build a town hall. In pre-COVID dollars, commercial buildings were costing about $250 a square foot. 2 years ago, they were costing about $450 a square foot. Today, they're costing about $650 a square foot. So today, to say that we didn't reduce the cost of this building, we did. We reduced the size of the building considerably, and that's pretty much the way you can reduce cost, by reducing square footage, and we reduced it quite a bit. Moving it over here saved us somewhere in the $800,000 range, because we don't have to clear the land, cut down trees, the environmental impact is worse at the village parcel. So we don't have to run sewer and water. All of these things saved us money. But it's 2 years later, and square footages have gone up. So we did everything we could to reduce the cost of the building. It's not going to ever get cheaper. So to think that is just not correct. I'm definitely voting for the new town hall, obviously. We worked, there were 11 taxpayers on this committee. We all pay taxes, we all care about the tax impact. We all come from different parts of town, and we worked hard. And we worked for everybody in town, because no one really came to any of our meetings. We had several people from the public, once or twice, come to a meeting. But I think most people relied on us to do all the heavy lifting, to do all the hard work. And we did. I've spent the last, the 11 of us have spent the last 2 years working on this plan. And I was on the committee, the original committee, so I've been doing this for even longer. We looked at everything. This is so much more than a one-issue town hall. You have to look at, I mean, we looked at the site, and we talked and analyzed every possible option. What's the pros? What's the cons of the site? We looked at, and there were things that didn't really do it for me. They weren't in my wheelhouse, but when we talked about insulation and our values, and should we do batting insulation or spray-on insulation? I mean, things like that that didn't really do it for me. We listened, and we sat there, and we listened to the experts, and we talked about it, and we figured out what would be the best. So there are so many issues like that, that you can't just say, oh, I don't like this location. Well, there's some people that love this location. Some people don't. Some people didn't like the village parcel location. You're not going to get everybody in town to agree on every single item. But when you take all of the things together that make up a town hall, this is the best option. It's not going to get any smaller, because we have to plan for the future, and we've reduced it already in size. It's just not going to go down any further in size. So it's now or never. I'm hoping that when everybody goes into the booth, or when they get their ballot, and you're looking at that question, you say to yourself, does the town need a new town hall? That's what you should be thinking about, not all these other peripheral issues, because we talked about them. We talked the pros and cons of every single one of these issues, and this is the best solution that we could come up with. I don't think anybody's going to come up with something better. So think about it when you go in, when you get your ballot. Please Does the town need a new town hall? Yes or no? That's what you should be thinking about. Trust us that we did the best job we could for everybody in town, and let's hope that this passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else in the room? And is there anyone on?
We have a hand raised on Zoom. You can speak, unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, this is Melinda Anderson. I'm at Bryant Lane. I'm wondering, was there an appraisal done on the town hall as it is to get the number that you folks are offering to sell the original town hall for?
Yes, you want to address that?
There was an appraisal done back in, I want to say it was 2022. And the estimate was in this range up to perhaps $1 million, depending on zoning. Based on the zoning right now, it's only for single-family residential, and so that's what the appraisal focused on.
So we actually took the lower number, Melinda, just for that reason. We didn't want to estimate what we could get. The odds are it'll be higher than the 750,000. And that would go directly to lowering the bond amount. Go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate that information. How much, and I know this is kind of a broad term, but how much do we have in bonds? I know we have, the 7 million left on the village parcel, but what else are we looking at? I know there's the sewer, and it doesn't have to be in detail, but just kind of a rough estimate. This would be for Lori.
In terms of what we have outstanding right now?
Yes, without the town hall.
Right, so what we have right now is 16.6 million. Including everything.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying including the village parcel and everything else.
So for me, I know it sounds like $5 a day, but right now on the village parcel, my taxes are at least that pay for the village parcel, that I get no benefit out of at this point. I really would like that held for the future generations. I'm okay with holding that and paying taxes on that, but I think the last number before evaluations, this is the second evaluation that the number went up, was somewhere around 425,000. That's how much my taxes pay towards the village parcel. So then if this goes up, is that correct?
I don't know quite how you're calculating that.
It was a number that you folks had given, I think it was last year or the year before, that there was some estimate of how much of the, your taxes would be going to the village parcel, and there was a number on how much your evaluation was, and at the time I had calculated it around $400 is what I was paying in taxes that was for that bond.
Melinda, you did say $425,000.
Yeah, but even 400, do we need
Not,
to take?
$400, I'm sorry if I said 425,000, I'm sorry, $400.
That sounds quite high. Melinda, I can't do the math. We'll have to look that offline. But I would just ask Lori, what does the state allow a town our size to have in bonded debt? It's a percentage, basically, and it's and compared to how much we have as a town in bonded debt, where do we rank, just out of curiosity, with what the state would allow, and maybe if you
John, excuse me,
around.
John, this again is not a debate. This was I've had my hand up for a very long time. My point is, if you add up what the village parcel costs, then you add up what the town hall potentially would cost, and then you add the other bonds, it's more than just $5 a day or whatever the number was that Mrs. Leffler had said. So for me, when you add all this up, the bonds for me, I think are quite a bit of my taxes. And for the town hall, I know April just did say all of what the town hall benefits us. But I can also say that, you know, I've done a building permit lately, and I don't get customer service in the way that we used to. I have to call in, and I have to use an app, and I have to sign up that way. It's going digital. And then there's a half a day off on Fridays that also makes it seem like, you know, the town hall's minimizing the amount you walk in that door. And I know it was said for a very long time, videos and whatnot, saying that the town hall had parking issues as it is now. I can tell you, I've been taking pictures just about every time I go to M&T Bank of the parking issue that has been spoken of for where it is on North Street. And I can tell you, there's always a parking spot there. So I'm just saying, it does come down to the locals that for us, this cost does impact us. It takes away from a vacation or an extra fridge or extra clothes. It does. And when people move from away and they say our taxes are so cheap because where they're moving from and coming here, it is cheap to them. But I can say I'm a long-term resident. I just moved across the street from Route 9 to Bryant Lane. And I can tell you my taxes go up and this hurts every time. So I do think the Manor way is to renovate. And I watched the post office dig. It's a brick and mortar building. You can't get any better than that. So the fire station, and I've spoken this many times, but the fire station that's on the back of the town hall now is just storage of paper where you could have an office. You could have 3 offices back there. And it could be minimized, and that is the Manor way. We do reuse, and recycle, and this is, I'm sorry, it's a bridge too far. And I appreciate you hearing me out, and I'm sorry to cut you off, John, but really, I did wait a long time to say what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Melinda.
You're welcome.
Please.
One thing I didn't say was, if the town hall, if this passes, we have a group of people who are willing to do everything we can to fundraise for the town hall. We got $500,000 without even asking. So I think that we will be able to do a good job trying to fundraise. We have 3 years before we go out to bond, because we won't bond until 2028. So we have 3 years to do everything we can to raise money to offset the cost of the town hall. We are committed, because we are all taxpayers and we don't want to pay any more than we have to. We are committed to doing this. And if there's anybody out there who would like to join us and help fundraise to offset your taxes, we would be glad for the help. So anybody who has any ideas, anybody who's good at fundraising, who might have done it as their previous job, who just wants to pitch in and help because they want to lower their taxes, feel free to contact us, Mary Beth or John.
Yep.
We would be glad to work with you and take your advice, anything that we can get. So I do intend to, even though that number is 5.5
5.5 or 6.5, depending which way we go. Yeah.
Right, $1 million. I'm sure that will come down once we do some fundraising.
Thank you, April.
Yeah.
Melinda's raised her hand again.
Can I just clarify something that's been said, because it's publicly, so I think we were referencing when Kai did the math, it was $5 a month. I think there was a couple comments, it's
Yes.
$5. I just wanted to make sure it was clear.
That it was, I'm sorry?
It was just referenced as $5 a day, on a couple
Oh, 5 days a
future.
month,
So
yes,
I just
yes.
wanted to make sure we were clear.
Hold 1 second, we have another hand, you said?
Melinda raised her hand again.
Melinda, did you mean to speak again?
I did. I did want to say, I did not get the email alert, and I am on all the email alerts. I got the ones about the road closing, about the town hall, but not being open. I got that, I received many, but I did not receive any notification about this meeting. And there is someone that has been trying to call in that has not gotten their phone call answered by the number that was given. I was just texted that, so I'm just letting you know that there is still kind of a lack of communication in a way for, this part, So that being said, I never received any notifications.
I certainly apologize for that. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you. Yes, please do. Thanks.
Well, maybe that's why there's no one here, but, because we didn't receive notification.
And Robin, did you say Robin?
Robin
Just
Phillips,
thanks just for
again.
that. Yeah.
April, I know you did a lot of work, and I know you love this town, but why weren't we fundraising the last 2 years? Like, why?
We can't until the building passes.
So you can't, well, you got 500,000 and we hadn't passed it.
That
was a
gift was a donation.
Well,
We can't actively go out and fundraise for a building that hasn't
We
been
can't have the back
Yeah,
and forth.
and this back and forth is not part of the public forum, so go ahead. But that's the answer to your question.
well, yeah, it just seems like, you're asking for a lot of money that's a lot of interest we're paying, Most people wouldn't run their household like this. We owe all this money and now we want to spend another 8 million. That seems a lot. And if, you know how this town is, I mean, people know each other. Whoever donated that 500,000, it didn't pass, so that's still up for grabs. But, I just think bonding us to death with an uncertain situation in our world is not in our best interest. And
Thank you.
people are going to have to move because of taxes.
Thank you.
Are you okay with that?
Thank you for your comments. Yes.
Excuse me. Dick Smith, Stonehaven Drive, Cape Porpoise. And I've been listening to this for several of the meetings. I don't think I've missed one. I just want to reinforce that this committee has been dedicated since day one to minimizing the cost of the choices made. Every choice along the way, be it the site, the building, the energy usage, or the ongoing maintenance. Although, we flash a bunch of names up there as people on the committee, I think it should be recognized that, there were 2 or 3 engineers on the committee, there are 2 or 3 retired business leaders whose very career depended on making sound judgments, meeting a budget, and minimizing expenditures. There were current and former town employees wrestling with, do we really need to do this function in a town hall? And are there any that can be dispensed with? And I really think that this committee was dedicated to doing the responsible thing. Yes, it would be great if it came in at $2 million. If we had done it 20 years ago, it might have. It cannot today. The option was suggested that, gee, the main way would be to renovate the existing. It's not a matter of hanging new curtains. That building is not, even though it's a brick building, it is not a candidate structurally for an upward addition. It is not an energy efficient building to today's standards or tomorrow's best use of our monies. It lacks the space for larger meetings. It's great for when you want to go in and pay your taxes if you do it at a non-busy time. But if you're going there to vote, there is inadequate parking. It would have to be a two-story building to do that. Well, the one we're proposing is in part 2 stories. But it would be a matter of remove and replace on that site. We did not get into detail as a committee on a design option for that site because of the many limitations and the recognition that it would be a remove and replace, and that would have been a very different building than the one that has been designed with 32 North Street in mind. And I just want to make sure that it is recognized that we did explore in our site options whether or not we could make responsible use of, or responsible expansion of the existing site, and it simply was not feasible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Any other comments from folks? We're getting close, and are we okay on Zoom?
Melinda just raised her hand again.
Melinda?
Thank you. I'm just curious, the 8 bathrooms, where did that come from? Is that necessary for a new build? Is that correct? 8 bathrooms? I see eight lavatories on the budget that I printed off. Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me, but I certainly don't remember that number. You're talking about 8 individual stalls?
So is there someone there that could answer that? What I'm seeing is, you know, for plumbing, there's 9 lavatories in this one, 8 water closets and 1 urinal. How does that break down in the printout that I have from the budget?
Well, given, we don't have that in front of us. Interesting question. You need to remember that that has the public meeting space, as well as the rest of the town hall. So I am clear there's nothing more than what is required by code for the number of individuals that would be both on site as staff and in that public meeting space. But thank you for your question. Any other questions here? All right, hearing none, I will draw this public meeting to a close.
And GPC needs to.
Oh, and please, and yes, GPC also pleased to close your meeting?
Sure. Well, GPC will close the meeting, and I forgot to recognize that Jane was here as well.
Thank you. Hi, Jay. Great. And I don't think there's no action required from the board at this time. So we'll move on to item number 8. This is the Goose Rocks Beach Advisory Committee Traffic and Safety Recommendations.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Pam Sikansky. I was here back in December, I think, just to give you an update on the Beach Advisory Committee. I'm here tonight with my colleague Chaz Caldwell. He heads the working group on traffic safety. And they have met intensively over the last 2 summers and really worked with Chief Simeone to review some of the data from the existing speed signs on Kings Highway and Dyke Road. And they had some recommendations in a report that was presented to the Beach Advisory Committee in the middle of September, which the Beach Advisory Committee voted to forward to the town. And we're really here to talk to you about that with a request or 2. And we've had a lot of feedback from community members as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Chaz to go through the report.
Pam, you cleared the room.
Yes.
Sorry.
Is that something you said, Pam?
I'm Chas Cadwell. I own 2 cottages, one at 545 and one 549 Kings Highway. I'm a taxpayer, but not a voter.
Yeah, touche.
One of my renters this summer, a 65-year-old grandmother, was riding down Kings Highway on her bicycle with her granddaughter. She was sideswiped by a car. She was not injured badly, scraped her arm and her leg, and went on about her business. So she was very lucky, and we were very lucky. There hasn't been a serious accident at Goose Rocks in memory of anybody I've talked to. But luck is not a good way to plan and not we can't count on luck in the future. Over the summer, we were able to get data that Chief Simeone gave us from the 2 speed signs, one on Dyke Road, one on Kings Highway, and for the period between May and end of July, which showed the data is only about vehicles passing the, items passing the signs. It could be a pedestrian, a bike, a car, a truck, a moose. But we analyzed the data as best we could. We had to come up with a method to discount pedestrians, so we excluded people going slower than 20 miles an hour. So the data can be sliced different ways, is what I'm saying. It's not an in-depth study. But we found more than half the people going over the posted speed limit. On Dyke Road, 70% of the people going over the speed limit. And there were, between that period, there were 90,000 things passing the sign on Dyke Road and 45,000 on the sign on Kings Highway. So a lot of data that confirms what we know from talking to our neighbors, that people are concerned about speeding. So we're very grateful to Chief Simeone and his colleagues for sharing the data with us. But if we could switch forward the slides, Dave. As Pam said, we met over the summer, and so we're here tonight with recommendations that come out of that process. Next slide. I've just talked about the data, and the next bullet, Dave. Why this data is problematic at Goose Rocks is because Goose Rock's different than a lot of other places. We have pedestrians and bicyclists going both directions. In a place with no sidewalks on the west end of Kings Highway. And on the east end of Kings Highway, we have people getting in and out of cars with children, beach equipment, strollers, et cetera. There are no sidewalks on the west end and numerous unmarked crossing points where people come out of the back lots to the beach. And then, of course, we're all familiar with the parked landscaping trucks, Federal Express, UPS, et cetera. We met several times. We researched what other towns are doing. And on the next slide, we have the first of 3 recommendations we have for you to consider now, because we think they all can be implemented in time for summer of 2026. The first is simply to enhance and expand the speed sign coverage. The speed signs don't record who you are when you pass it, and they don't issue a ticket, but people do pay attention to them and seem to appreciate being cautioned to slow down. So we are recommending that you allocate up to $20,000 to purchase 4 additional speed signs and the related subscription that is needed, according to the chief, to get the data out of it. We think 2 of those could be located, one on Wildwood and one on Community House Road, where we heard lots of complaints about speeding cars, particularly on Community House Road, where there are children going to and from the community center in the morning. Because the signs are static, people know they're there, and so another suggestion would be to move those periodically. And of course, off-season, they're available to use elsewhere in Kennebunkport. Another longer-term benefit is that the data, if we had for more than one summer, would let us know whether the problem's getting better or worse, and where it's getting better or worse. So not only could we talk about it more, but the police could allocate their scarce enforcement resources in a more data-informed way. The next slide. 2 more recommendations, we think, for this coming summer. One would be to add a 3rd stop sign at Dyke Road and Kings Highway. There was a stop sign added a couple of years ago that's made a huge difference in calming the traffic and the confusing behavior of drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians at that street, which is very wide, as you may know, across from the general store. And so drivers hesitate, bicyclists hesitate, pedestrians hesitate, and it's no one's quite sure who's supposed to be going. A stop sign would make everybody stop and think. There's some design issues that we need traffic experts to, I think, inform us on, but we're recommending that because it's a problem that was high on our list. And the 3rd suggestion we have to implement for this summer coming, back one, Dave, would be to put together some sort of a group between us and the town to create an expanded seasonal awareness campaign using social media and other things to let people know this is a priority for the town. Two specific things. One would be to amend the good neighbor policy text that every short-term rental owner has to give to their tenants to make clear that traffic is an important part of being a good neighbor at Goose Rocks Beach. And the second would be to utilize, when it's available, that mobile signboard that moves around, but use it for safety and enforcement messaging, as well as the things it's currently used for. We've recommended these among many others because we think they're most likely to affect speeding. They take account of the limits on enforcement personnel that are a reality for Kennebunkport. And they, again, as I mentioned before, will contribute data on an ongoing basis. We had a lot of other things we looked at. Next slide, Dave. That we're not recommending tonight, but we think warrant discussion. As my slide here suggests, there are pluses and minuses to both of these. One would be marking the frequently used cross points on west end of Kings Highway. Property owners are concerned that that might somehow signal that those were public entrances, and they're not at that point. And the other suggestion that several other towns in Maine have done is put speed tables or speed humps. But neighbors are often concerned about those because they create noise at their location. And the behavior of drivers once they're past the speed bump is not at all clear too. Kings Highway, for example, if you had one at one point, there's other long straightaways where people could get back up to their 40 miles an hour or whatever. So these are both things that are done to slow speeding, but we're not recommending them at this point without some more discussion with our neighbors and with the town. Next slide, Dave. So no single step is going to stop speeding. At our Beach Advisory Committee meetings, we had very actively engaged neighbors who wanted us to stop all speeding. And no single step does that. The steps that have been taken so far have helped, but they haven't stopped speeding. The steps we're recommending will not stop all speeding, but they will help. So we're offering these suggestions to assure that no serious accident record continues, and that I can advise my renter that it's safe to keep riding her bicycle at Goose Rocks Beach. But with that, I'll thank you and take any questions.
Thank you. Perhaps before we continue, we have received, Chaz, and thanks. I think what we might want to do is we have Deputy Chief Vaughn with us from the police department.
And he's really here just if you have questions.
Ah, I see. He's not going to make this. I see. Okay, I thought there was going to be a presentation.
No.
So, sorry, you can.
You're free to go.
But thank you for being here for questions. Thank you for being here. So if you had a chance, I know it just came to us right as we sat down.
I need some time to think about this.
This is what I would think so as well. I would suggest that maybe we accept these recommendations as presented to the board with the request, I imagine, Chaz, that we would consider this and then be able to re-engage with the Beach Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I prepared a 1.5-page written version of this.
That would be great.
It's in our packet, so we have that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have a vote.
The reason we're
tonight.
pressing it now is because we're doing a budget now, and some of these steps require coordination among departments in the town.
Exactly.
And so not something we can decide to do in May and have effective in June, July.
Good point. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions.
No, I have no questions. I will agree with one thing for sure right off the top. There could be a stop sign at the end of Dyke Road and Kings Highway by the general store. I'm just, as someone who sometimes does get there and gets a little confused.
We've looked at it in the past, and unless you hang something over top, unless we rebuild that intersection,
well,
it'd be an actual T.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the other thing we could do. So there are thoughts that could come,
Yeah,
but
no,
it's.
we discussed this with Eric LaBelle and
Yeah.
Chief Simeone, and it's a difficult intersection.
Because
Yeah,
it'd be tough to see the sign when you
Yeah.
come in, so it's.
Go without an island or something.
Yeah, I think, so I just have a couple things, and then I'd like to bring up something different, specifically for New Bedford Road, for the board to consider. So I think this, we'll all think and stuff, but I do think the stop sign, that's such a weird
is totally.
intersection. And I've watched people with the stop signs that exist now, because they can't really, the line of sight to the other people, and then they're looking for a parking space, or they're looking at somebody walking. So I'm not quite sure who would then get the right of way, and I'm almost like thinking about, in the peak of the season, Goose Rocks Road and Route 9, people get all confused about who's got the right of way, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls out, and that's when we get the close, so I don't know what side is better. I'd actually want somebody that's a professional at this.
Exactly.
To
I
sort
mean,
of give us an
we're
idea of
volunteers,
what-
we're not traffic engineers.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That's where it would lie in, to tell us the best approach for that. The speed thing, though, I'd like to actually put a motion in front for the board to consider on New Bedford Road. From talking with Lori, I understand it was the Board of Selectmen that decided to put the speed bumps in on New Bedford Road.
At the request of the.
At the request of some of the neighbors.
Committee,
Yeah. And so I'd actually like to, because of what we've learned and what we've seen, and then we do know that they do damage to the road, I'd like to remove the speed bumps. I think for me personally, the sign flashing is the one that gets your attention. And riding my bike up New Bedford Road, I actually watch people go very fast in between the speed bumps. And then I actually watch people launch their cars over the speed bumps. So, it's the speed bumps, to me, they don't do it. They're actually doing damage to our roads. They cause our crews to go out and do work, put them down, put them up. We had big projects going on, so they went in late. We had big projects still going on, so they come up late. So they're actually not there, and it's really that 6-week time during the peak of the season. So I know we have a post on New Bedford Road for the signs that travel around. That to me makes a lot more sense. I know when I drive through town, Kennebunk, when I drive here, North Street, I always try to go green, make sure I am green when I'm approaching this building. So I think I'd like to put a motion in front of the board, if you're willing to think through it tonight, to remove the 2 speed bumps on New Bedford Road for the foreseeable future.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Now we're open for discussion. I have an issue. I'm not ready to vote on that. I haven't thought that through personally. It's not that I don't like the idea. It's just the first time I've thought of substituting the speed sign for the bumps, and that could very well make sense. I would hope and ask that you would not make a vote tonight, but would rather put this as a consideration for, let's do it for the next meeting, would be my suggestion. Obviously, you all can move forward as you wish.
Well, I think it's, every time in the spring and in the fall, you're taking them up, you're putting them down, and you're tearing the roads up. It's not doing anybody any good. I do think that electronic sign does help a lot.
I like electronic signs, and maybe we should put in a permanent table, then you wouldn't have to pull them up and take them down, so we'll make them permanent.
You have problems plowing. You have problems
So,
plowing then.
it's just, let's think it,
I'll say one thing too, in spirit of discussion. If we go through town, I don't understand. Every place in town, we have speeding problems. Every place, every road in town. I almost got hit walking, where the ducks walk when you cross the street there. I don't know, people don't seem to hit the ducks, but I almost got hit.
They're watching the ducks.
They're watching the ducks. And I'm walking in the crosswalk, but they came flying around the corner, around the bridge, and there I was. So everywhere in town, we have speed issues, and we have a time of town where our town heats up, and there's a lot of people from out of town and a lot of people that seem to be in a hurry. So for me, I like the electronic signs. It's a flashing thing. It tells people, hey, slow it down. It's a nice visual warning. But I don't know, there is no other place in town that we have speed bumps. So I'm sort of confused why we have them on New Bedford Road at all. They do cause damage. A long term of a permanent speed, I don't know why you would do that. I mean, do we put speed bumps through the whole part of town? And you're trying to solve a 6-week problem, and there's people that live down there permanently. So, I mean, do you want to travel over speed bumps every day? You know, my answer is no.
I'm with you, John. I'm not opposed to it, Mary Beth, I'm not opposed to it, and I know that they come out, they're probably usually out around this time, and they're
It's
out for the season, and they come back in, let's say, the summer season. So I'm not opposed to it, I don't know if I'm ready to vote yes or no right now, without maybe talking to Eric, and maybe we can have a discussion as part of this larger discussion, that for next season, they just don't go in. Because they've got to be out by now.
Oh, they are out.
Right,
No,
so they're
they're
out.
out.
So
No, it's just a question of
we
whether
could have
they
a
go
conversation
back.
about not
That's-
putting them
yeah.
in for next year. I don't want to make that decision tonight. That's just my.
I'm ready to vote, but it's up
Okay,
to you, Mary Beth.
we have a first and a
So,
second.
Yeah, but I'll, in spirit of just discussion, and because it's a broader issue, I'll give the rest of my board members time to
Thank you.
consider
So
it.
withdraw the
And
motion.
I will withdraw this motion, and I will lobby you guys hard.
Excellent. Boy, I'm expecting a phone call, so I'm, and,
But,
so-
yeah,
so thank you. If that's agreeable to everyone.
That's fine.
Melinda raised her hand again at the beginning of your discussion.
Melinda, do you still wish to speak?
I do, it's a question. Do we have an ordinance that is for no backlit signs?
Yeah, I think there is a sign, part of the sign ordinance is about no backlit. I think that's correct.
So I will say, when I see these speed signs come up around town, I feel as though that's a breach of the backlit signs that we voted through. I understand, what, the board is saying in form of the flashing gets people's attention, but I disagree with the use of backlit signs, and we have an ordinance that says we shouldn't have them. I understand maybe a temporary one might not, maybe, be the same as a permanent in my mind, but a backlit sign that's permanent is not suiting in my mind for us as Kennebunkport, the small town that we voted no on.
All right, and of course, as you know, that the speed signs now are not permanent. They do migrate, but thank you for your comments.
What about the ones on Beechwood that, there's a post there. It looks like they're supposed to go up. I've seen them down on Mills Road. Those ones are the ones
Belinda,
I'm
I
kind
can
of
speak to that as the person whose driveway is right outside of those two posts. They're there so that at some point they could put those signs up. They have not been there, but that is my driveway.
But that would be permanent.
They get moved around, they have not shown up in
The
mine.
post is permanent,
The
but the
post is
post is
permanent.
not backlit. Thank you for your
The
comments.
post isn't
No,
backlit,
it's-
or
it-
are you
it's just
saying
like
that
a-
you don't consider those backlit?
It's just a post right now, there's no.
No, like the one on Mills Road, isn't that one still there?
so I think the question is, we have signs that move around that are backlit. So
Right.
do those
Do those breach
breach the ordinance?
And if they do, Melinda, we will certainly take a look at that, and if we need to make a change and propose a change in the ordinance for the town to vote on, we will certainly go that route. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. I don't know about that.
I also just, this is one thing since the beach committee's here. Part of the stuff when we see the beach get more and more popular from all the magazine articles and nice write-ups it gets. I'm always wondering, and I know, we had a person here in town send us some questions about entrances on the west end, which we'll look into, but we know we have the one access on the west end. I would like to see, so if you said to me, hey, tell me what you would like to see of the beach in the future, I would like to see more dispersion of the people that come to beach. So I don't mean this to be funny or whatever, comical or whatever, or snippy, but for me, there's a big difference between the east end of the beach and the west end. So when people talk to me about speeding on the west end, I sort of like glaze over because I think about all the stuff that we deal with on the east end. Jeffrey's Way is a zoo. People will say, well, we can't park down at West End here, we can't put a spot here because there's a driveway. Well, walk down on the east end and there's a driveway and there's a parking to be right across from it. Or we can't park down on the west end because the road's not wide enough. Well, come down to the east end and the road is even narrower. Or we can't park down to the west end because there's not enough access. Well, people hike from way down Bedford Road to come down to Jeffrey's Way. So I would actually like, at some point, it would be nice to, given where we are today versus where we were when the 173 spaces came into existence, it'd be really nice for the, in my opinion only, as a citizen, probably not as a board member, but in my opinion, it would be nice for the beach advisory committee to take a look at the 173 spaces and can we disperse them more around?
We are looking at that, and we actually have a meeting. John's walked with Chief Simeone and Pat Souza and I, and we're meeting with Lori later this month to talk about just that kind of stuff. So thank you. I think a lot of the speeding is on Wildwood and Community House too. It's not just at the West End. So.
Yep. But really, thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth. Yeah. Other questions for Chaz? And thank you. Thank you very much.
So can I just get some direction?
Yes.
So 1023 I have that we'll put on the agenda about the speed bumps. The other questions were about the stop sign and the speed limit signs. And so do we want to visit those in some particular time period just so they don't fall off the?
No, I think it would be good. I don't know if it's something we can do in 2 weeks in terms of the three-way stop, but I think that is something that does need to be looked at.
So do you want to have Eric come and discuss it? Do you want to have an on-site meeting and go look at it with him? What's your pleasure?
It's always good to look at things.
I'd like Eric to give him some time, though, to look at some options. I'd like to hear some creative options.
Yep.
Because I think it's going to be tough to fix that. And it may take an island in the middle or redesign the whole intersection if it has to be.
Traffic circle.
Traffic circle, that would be, or traffic triangle. But that would be good. So maybe that would take a month. As far as the proposal to purchase 4 additional speed signs, that's something that would be brought up at budget time, right? So this would be a request that would come in, would be considered.
Usually in December, we approve the budget schedule, or the board approves the budget schedule, and also gives us any input into things they want to see in the following budget. Perfect. So that's a time you can bring it up. If
Perfect. So we've got that piece covered, and I think that's, the crosswalks, that's another issue. And apparently that's been looked at before, and there are some property issues about that, so we do need to discuss the crosswalks as well. All righty. Good? Thank you. Moving on to number 9.
You have a handout.
I have a handout. Yes, sorry, Pat, come on.
Hi, Pat Souza, 19 Crescent Ave. I'd like to just to chime in on Mary Beth. I think she's got some great points. I've been helping with the parking committee. And actually, we have a beautiful beach. That beach, the east and west end, the west end is far beyond a beach that really nobody really uses for the public beaches, all down the east end. The west end, I've been told, so I've only been here since 2013, that there's no entrances. I would like to look into this a little bit more. I'm hoping the committee is open to having us look into that, because I think that if we had an entrance down there for the public, at least we could spread some of it out. We wouldn't be having everything down one end of the beach and worry about everybody parking at 173 parking down the east end. What do you have at the West End?
Yeah.
You got 4.
Yeah.
We need access to the beach. It's a public beach, and it's not being used. Does that make sense? It's a natural resource for everybody. And we're all crowded in one area. I mean, I love Goose Rocks Beach. Listen, I moved to Maine. I'm out of Massachusetts. I love it here. You've got a beautiful beach. I really think we should share it. Everybody, we should share it with everybody and not exclude people from going one end of the beach to the other. Let's open up the beach so people can use the beach. It's natural. Let's share it. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Okay. Moving on, item 9. This is a request to extend the lease for the Chowder House. Since 2022, the Chowder House has been operated under town lease by Alan and Wanda Daggett. Alan is one of our select board members. It's due to expire in 2027. As everyone knows, this has been a particularly difficult logistical time down at the pier. It has, although the main restaurant there, Ultramar, has its dedicated parking. The only parking that's available for the Chowder House is that which they share with the fishermen, who are often out still at lunchtime. So what has occurred is Alan Daggett at one point was given the option to maybe adjust the lease, and he felt that wasn't the right thing to do, which I certainly appreciate for the town. But one thing that Alan has asked is if the board would consider extending the lease for an extra year. This would extend the termination of the lease, moving it from 2027 to the end of 2028 season. It would seem to me, just in my personal note, that this is a reasonable accommodation to what has been a very difficult logistical year for the Chowder House at Cape Porpoise. So I would open this up for discussion by the board.
I think with everything going on down at the pier, that there has been an impact to the 2 businesses down there, and so I don't have a problem extending their lease for another year, if that's the request, to sort of help compensate for probably the loss of business and just the general disruption that's been going on down there, and will continue for a few more months. So I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a problem at all.
Mary Beth?
Yeah, I agree. I think we tried to make some changes to alleviate the stress as much as possible with the parking on the bridge. So I think the town, put some good thought and forward, to try to alleviate any impact. But as we know, that was not really successful.
Well,
because
it helped, I'm sure,
it
but it was still crazy.
But it was still crazy. And, there has been great progress made at the pier, but everything does take time, and we ate into the whole season. So I would like to make a motion to extend the Chowder House contract by 1 year and authorize the town manager to sign the extension from 2027 to instead of 2027 to 2028.
Second.
I have a first and second. I know Alan will abstain from the vote, so there'll be 4 of us voting, and all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, 4 to 1, 4 to 0.
Melinda has raised her hand again.
Melinda?
Hi, I'm just Melinda Anderson, just kind of trying to make sure I understand. Does that mean that the amount of the lease still holds, like the amount that would be paid this year is still paid, and it just extends it for 1 more year?
That's correct.
Yes, I think that's very fair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've had our vote. Great. So the final on our, almost final, is the acceptance of donations, which is always a pleasure and gratefully receive $5,000 from the Mary Woodman and Flynn Family Foundation towards the Emergency Food Fund, an additional $5,000 from Mary Woodman and Flynn Foundation, Family Foundation for the Emergency Fuel Fund. The first was food, second is fuel, and then again, $7,500 from the Mary Woodman and the Flynn Family Foundation towards the General Nurses Fund.
So moved, very,
Second.
The first and
very
second.
generous.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you much. First and second, discussion, all in favor? And other business? Joe?
No, thank you.
No other business.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none either.
I had the opportunity to have a meeting with Fidium Fiber. Fidium Fiber is the internet brand of Consolidated Communications, and they are about to tackle putting broadband fiber throughout the entire town.
All right.
So they have already finished in Biddeford, they're finishing up in Kennebunk, and they finished in Wells, or they're just about to finish up. And so they anticipate that this project will take them through the first quarter of 2026. I think the only place in town they will not do in this first phase is Marshall Point, because they need to take the fiber through the water, under the water. But everywhere else in town, they showed me they'll be bringing service as well as higher broadband speeds for both residences as well as commercial business. So this is good. It's good to have competition, and it should be a great benefit. Once the construction's complete, they'll open it up for people to sign up. So I'm anticipating that won't happen until late spring next year. Kennebunk, they said they're going to open up in November, so it's a little after they finish the construction.
That's good news.
It is good news.
Free markets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like.
Competition's
yeah,
good.
you and I both.
Plus fiber is such a plus for speed.
Is the town gonna look at getting a bid for that?
For the town?
service instead of using Spectrum?
We don't use Spectrum. We use Consolidated Communications currently.
Consolidated is Fidium. They just rebranded. Same thing.
All righty. So now I think we need to move the warrant. Do I have a vote, please?
So moved.
Second.
And that's for October 9th, 25. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? And now I need, please, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
What did you all do when I wasn't here to adjourn?
We sort